What's up, everybody? BigSweetC here with you. Glad to be back. Welcome to the Another Gamer Dad podcast, episode number 13. I know it's been a little while, and I apologize about that, but it's good to be back. Before we get started, because it's been a little while, I kind of want to remind everybody what's going on, update you to the channel. Our current streaming schedule on Wednesdays, we're playing Grounded with Scavenger. It's the fully yoked edition. My wife is also joining us for that. It's been absolutely excellent. What a great game Grounded is, and I've had so much fun playing it with Scavenger and my wife. So Wednesdays, right around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're playing Grounded with Scavenger. On Thursdays, we're doing our Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster playthrough that starts at about 3 p.m. Friday, we're playing Fallout 76 on Xbox Series X. We're playing with most of the time we play with our good friend of the channel, Ghost Dave, but it is multiplayer. I can have up to, I think, 28 people in the thing or whatever. So we'll be streaming Fallout 76 on Friday, starting around 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Xbox Series X. I believe Xbox One can also play. So that'll be on Friday, and then on Saturday we've started our Elden Ring playthrough. I've actually had an uber amount of fun replaying that. The crazy thing is, like, I think what's made it more fun than anything is the fact that, like, I'm so used to playing on like New Game Plus 8, 9, 10, that going back and playing an actual new game has been I don't want to call it kind of a breeze, because I've died a few times. It's not an easy game by no means, but it has been a lot more smooth, we'll say, than if we were playing on like New Game Plus 8 or whatever I happen to be on with my main character. So it's been super fun. We've been playing that with friend of the channel, Nico Dude. He joined us on the last episode. We've been able to beat Stormvale Castle and Raya Lucaria Academy. So we'll go into Caelid in the next episode, and then we'll make our way into Lendau Castle. Super excited about. Actually, we'll probably do. Now we'll probably do Rykard. Maybe we'll do Rykard. I don't know. We'll see. But that's on Saturdays, again, starting right around 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My wife lets me go early. It's usually about 2 o'clock. She lets me go. The reason we go early for Grounded is because Scavenger's over on the East Coast, and so the time differential between him and I works better if we start early. But absolutely fantastic times. I look forward to it. It's probably going to be at least a few weeks before we switch it up. But again, Wednesdays, Grounded with Scavenger and my wife. Thursdays, Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster on Nintendo Switch. Fridays is Fallout 76. And Saturdays is Elden Ring. So be on the lookout for that. I also put it in the community post section in case you guys forget. And it's been a good time. I hope you guys have been enjoying it like I've been enjoying it, and I look forward to playing this for the next few weeks. Should be a good time. The next order of business, again, I have been saying this for a while now. I finally did get a chance to put that new merch out. We're still on spring.com. I believe it's spring.com. It might still be teespring.com, but I think they call themselves Spring now. But there'll be a link to the merchandise channel in the description box below. But we've got a whole bunch of new stuff, so a little hard to see because of the glare. But we've got Another Gamer Dad podcast stuff. We've got mugs. We've got hoodies. We've got shirts. I even got a hat with the BigSweetC icon logo on it. But we've got 3 options. We've got the icon logo, which is the traditional one that we've had for a while now. Got a new one that's just the title tee, BigSweetC, with an old school Super Nintendo controller on the front. And then we've got the Another Gamer Dad podcast, where I'm hawking my son, hoping to sell some merchandise. But again, we've got mugs, we've got hats, we've got shirts, we've got hoodies. Do me a favor, if you are interested in supporting the channel, drop down in the description box below and check out that link to the merchandise channel over on, I'm just going to call it Spring. But either way, it's good to be back. We've missed a lot since I've taken this break. The previous one, episode number 12, came unfortunately just before a lot of events happened. But in the last few weeks, we've had an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Joe Biden has dropped out of the race, and the elites picked Kamala Harris to be his successor. Remember, no votes were cast for Kamala Harris. And so we've just had kind of a lot of stuff going on, and I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on those two happenings. First and foremost, it was a no-brainer that Joseph Biden was not going to be the Democratic nominee. Anybody who has a functioning brain and 2 working eyeballs, shoot, you don't even need 2 working eyeballs. You just need 1 working eyeball and 1 working ear. Anybody with half a brain can see that he wasn't fit to be president now, let alone for another 4 years. And so huge conspiracy. Again, another rigged primary election, third in a row by the Democratic Party, who absolutely refuses to let their voters choose who they want as their leader. They just handpick it for you, which is why they knew that they knew that Joe Biden wasn't going to be the nominee. They've had to known this for at least a good year, and that's why they decided to run the primary the rigged way that they were. They did it super early. They did it super fast. They basically left off any competition to Joe Biden off the ballot, so you couldn't vote for anybody other than Joe Biden. And they did that very purposely so they could wrap up all the delegates, or at least enough, so they could pick their nominee as opposed to letting you guys vote for who you wanted. Because just a reminder, Kamala Harris ran for the Democratic presidential nominee back in 2020, and she got literally 0 votes. 0 votes. She was so bad as a candidate that she had to drop out before the first vote was cast. And so that's who Kamala Harris is. But it's who the establishment wants. She's a puppet with no brain whatsoever. She doesn't speak clearly. She speaks around stuff. If you've ever noticed, she never answers a question. She just repeats the word in the question over and over again. There's plenty of videos on YouTube and specifically Twitter/X, whatever you want, X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, to know what I'm talking about. But just for example, she went out and said that Ukraine is a country in Europe. There's a country in Europe named Ukraine. They're a small country. Russia is a big country. Russia invaded Europe, and that's pretty much a bad thing. Something to that effect. So again, she just spouts out words without actually saying anything of substance because she's an incompetent moron. She got her start in politics as a whore for the mayor of San Francisco. She was the third wheel. He was having an affair on his wife with her, and that's how she got her start into politics. And then when she did get into politics, she did whatever the establishment wanted, no questions asked, regardless of what the people wanted whatsoever. So that's why the establishment loves her. 2 reasons. 1, she's a puppet. She's got no brain, so she can't think for herself. She just does what she's told, and she acts how she's told to act by the governmental extent, the global world order that actually runs this country. And she's a woman of color. 4 years ago, she was an Indian. Now she's black. And so they just call her whatever they want, and you're supposed to eat that up because that's what the Democrats tell you to do. If anybody tells you that the Democrats are actually the only path to saving democracy, they're 2 things. They're either a con man lying to you to your face, or they're the most retarded person in the world, because the Democratic Party is anything but democratic. They're authoritarian, they're fascist, they're absolutely the antithesis to what this country stands for. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are any better, because they're both bought and paid for by the same people. We don't have 2 parties. We have one uniparty with 2 warring factions, and that's how they let you choose. That's the idea of democracy: is you can choose between one of 2 hand-picked douchebags that the global world order that actually runs this country wants you to pick. And the reason they choose those 2 people is because they know they can control them. Now, Donald Trump might be a little bit different because he's not as controllable. say what you will about him as a person, he seems to be blackmailable. They spent 4 years trying to dig up dirt, so much as to, they tapped his campaign's phone lines, not just his, but everybody associated with his campaign. They blamed his win on Russia, and they literally they couldn't come up with a single thing to arrest him for, and that's why they, when they finally got the crooked judge to throw a sentence at him for his normal day-to-day business business transaction. That's why they were, so ecstatic. He was impeached, but it wasn't anything of wrongdoing. The reason he was impeached during his presidential term is because he decided to stop sending arms to Ukraine, and apparently peace is now an impeachable offense. So be on the lookout for that. But it's crazy that he actually did survive an assassination attempt, and in my opinion, it's 100% an inside job. It was set up by the FBI with the assistance of the CIA and the Secret Service, just like they did with JFK back in 1963. Maybe it was 64 that he died. I think he won in 63 and was killed in 64. But it was definitely an inside job. It reminded me so much of the Michigan Governor Whitmer's kidnapping plot, where it came out that the FBI actually put together this plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer, and they coerced this mentally incapacitated man. I'm not saying he's actually mentally retarded. He was not all there, and he was very, very easy to persuade. And so they picked on this certain individual because they spy on us all the time through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. YouTube is a big supplier to the NSA and the deep state. And so they convinced this guy to pull out this plan to kidnap Governor Whitmer, and then they stopped him before he did it, so they could kind of garner favoritism, sympathy for Governor Whitmer, but also show that the FBI does a good job. When in reality, they actually planned the whole thing, and that's how they knew how to stop this guy. But same thing here. They're blaming this shooting on a 20-something-year-old male with apparently no social media background whatsoever, who also has ties to the deep state. He was in a BlackRock commercial, and one of, I believe it's the FBI, one of the members of the FBI frequently attended the same areas as this gentleman. But I knew it was a fake. I knew he was a patsy as soon as they showed his picture, because, again, this guy's supposed to be 20 years old. The picture they put up is of a 10 or 11-year-old kid. Turns out he's a transgender, and probably like most, like the Governor Whitmer kidnapping, he was probably not all mentally there and was very easily coaxed by the deep state, the FBI, to attempt this assassination on Donald Trump. One of the other reasons why I fully 100% believe it was an inside job is they saw the shooter before he shot, waited until after he shot, and then killed him right away. They killed him right away. They cleaned up the spot. Apparently, they didn't find any bullet shells or anything. They cleaned up all the residuals. They kept this guy's social media locked up for months afterwards. And so it's 100% an inside job. And it's mostly because the deep state doesn't necessarily hate Donald Trump like we're told to hate Donald Trump. We're told to hate Donald Trump because he's a misogynistic, racist, rapist with con man history. That's not really why they don't like him. The fact they don't want him to be president is because people stay awake during his presidency. So he was getting criticized anytime he made a move. Now, he did want to run his foreign policy differently than he actually did, from all insiders' information. But he was kind of, again, the deep state does not work for the president. The president works for the deep state. The people that control the deep state, I'm talking the intelligence agencies, the military industrial complex, those are controlled by the oligarchs, people like Peter Thiel, people like George Soros, people that have money that contribute to campaigns, that have actual influence in our country. They are warmongering asshats that want a perpetual state of war because that's the only thing we make in this country anymore, and that's what makes the most money. It's a no-brainer. If you're in a capitalistic society and you need to continue making more and more money over time, what's the best thing to create? A bomb. Why? Because you fire it once and you need a new one. It's not like you can reuse bombs. It's why we spend $1.35 trillion on an F-35 jet that doesn't fly. It's a money laundering scheme. It's been going on since at least the assassination of JFK, but more likely probably since the end of World War II, when they realized how much money they could make in war. And so their sole purpose is to make sure that America is always at war with somebody, be it an actual hot war like we were in World War II, or the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, or in some sort of Cold War where we use Ukraine as war fodder against the Russians, or we supply all the military aid for Israel so they can continue their genocide against Palestine. That is what we work in. That is what our economy is based on: death, war, perpetual war, and it's a way for them to money launder the taxpayers' money into a select few global New World Order elitist pockets. And so that's why they don't like Trump, because people pay attention when Trump is in power. They criticize everything that he does, and the best thing that the deep state can have is privacy. When we elected Joe Biden, when we elected Barack Obama, people went to sleep. They just assumed that they were working in our best interest, knowing full well that they weren't. But they didn't care because the media told them not to care. The media told them that everything was peaches and cream, and it was the greatest day ever, and Obama is the greatest person of all time, and Joe Biden is everybody's grandpa, and he's such a good person that there's no need to worry about what he's doing because everything is under control, and Joe Biden and the Democrats will take care of you. Now, anybody with a functioning brain, an eyeball, and shoot, you don't even need an ear, knows that all of that is bullshit. The economy is tanking right now. I know this for a fact because my stock has gone down dramatically, we'll say. Like I pay good money to not have to worry about my stock going down. And it's going down really fast for the last few days. Warren Buffett, one of the biggest investors in this country, has pulled almost $300 billion worth of his stock investments out and is sitting on $300 billion worth of cash right now, waiting for the bottom to fall out so he can then go in and gobble up more stock share at an even cheaper price than he would if he did it today. Which, I mean, that's the whole idea of the stock market: buy low, sell high. And that's what he does. The problem with him doing it is he has so much money invested in the stock market that he can change the fluctuation of the whole market itself just by taking out some. Because as soon as he takes out some, others are going to follow suit and take it out as well. But there is an answer. I don't want to be all doom and gloom. The mainstream media, who is controlled by the global world establishment, doesn't want you to know this, but there is a third-party candidate named Robert Kennedy Jr. He is running on his ticket with Nicole Shanahan, who is she's probably still invested in the Silicon Valley technology, new age technology, but she's been very critical of artificial intelligence and how it's going to be used to wreck the middle class. RFK has a bunch of plans to actual policies to help us, the actual Americans, out. He wants to end the forever wars. He wants to lock up the border and make it easier for people to actually migrate to the country as opposed to just come in here. Because illegal immigration is way more harmful than the Republicans will let you. It's not just about Democratic votes. It's about lowering wages for all workers across the board. It's about changing the dynamics of where you live. It's about, in recent terms, it's about violent crime. I mean, there's been numerous local news reports about how people just don't feel safe going into certain parts of their city anymore. You see cities like Minneapolis, Minnesota. You see, Black Lives Matter riots. People thought were bad. It's nothing compared to the immigration status that we have going on right now with the 8, 9, 10 plus million illegal immigrants that have come across the border since Joe Biden took over. And Kamala Harris was supposed to be the border czar. She visited the border one time, and it wasn't even in a part of the border that gets immigration. So, if you want to go ahead and, give your vote over to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, who's absolutely the most incompetent person ever, most unqualified candidate of all time, go ahead and vote for Kamala Harris. But if you do, I'm going to call you a retard, because you are a retard if you vote for her. But there is RFK. He'll be on the ballot in all 50 states. He is an independent candidate, but he is polling at roughly 22 to 25% right now. If he can get that up to about 30%, he has a vital, an actual shot at winning this election. Now, it's going to take, there's a few states that probably just aren't going to go his way. There's California and there's New York. They're probably going to go for Kamala Harris regardless of what people want. And then there's Missouri and well, I guess Missouri is really the only one I can think of on the red side, but that's probably going to most likely vote for Donald Trump regardless. But in head-to-head battles, RFK beats Donald Trump, and he destroys Kamala Harris. But in head-to-head battles, Trump beats Kamala Harris regardless of what the polls say, because they're not accurate polls. This is election interference done by the establishment to make it think that Kamala is doing better than she is. That's why you only see her on Google, even when you Google Donald Trump. That's why you only ever see commercials. I was watching, I can't even remember what I was watching, but I saw 5 commercials for Kamala Harris and 0 for Donald Trump. So it's 100% election interference done by the big tech companies, including Google, YouTube itself. I think it was YouTube that we were watching. I think I was watching Miss Rachel with my son. But RFK is the answer. He's got actual policies that he will work to implement. Most importantly being, he's liked on both sides. He's got policies that both sides can agree with. I mean, conservatives and liberals. If you vote for Donald Trump or you vote for Kamala Harris, you are voting for division and hatred and a complete unsustainable society where we're supposed to hate our neighbors and love only those people that believe what we're told to believe. And so if you want this continued divide between our country and our neighbors and our societies, by all means, vote Democrat or Republican. But if you want to bring this country back together where I can go have dinner with somebody that doesn't have the same ideas as I do, you have to vote for Robert Kennedy Jr. There is no other choice. And so I strongly urge you guys to do so. If you're voting age, if you plan on voting, do yourself and ourselves a favor and vote for Robert Kennedy Jr. Now when he gets into power, with Congress, the makeup that Congress is, will he be able to institute a lot of these programs that he wants? We'll see. But if he goes to implement these programs that the people generally support and Congress decides to go against him, guess what's next? In the next midterm election, all those people that voted against what Robert Kennedy wants to do go bye-bye, and people that want to implement what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing become your new Congress. And that's only a good thing. That's only a good thing. Plus, he's got unlimited knowledge as a lawyer who's sued multiple big corporations. He understands the purpose and the liability and the ability of executive orders to get it done. The only thing that I worry about with an RFK presidency is, well, they're going to do what they did to his dad and what they did to his uncle when he gets into power. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. The fact is, I'm surprised they haven't. The only reason they haven't tried to do it now is because he's running as a third party, and the mainstream media refuses to cover him. But if he does get some sort of big natural win, he's putting himself at risk. And it's been for a long time. He's finally got Secret Service protection, even though he requested it like 100 days ago or 150 days ago, something like that. The Biden administration was refusing to give it to him, forcing him to spend out-of-pocket cash on security for him and Nicole, which was done on purpose. One, it's because they want him to keep his money low. They don't want him to be able to afford more ads, more TV spots. But it's two, that way they can illustrate an attack on him, 100%. There shouldn't be a single person in this country that doesn't believe that the government would come after you if you're an outsider or if you don't go along with groupthink. There's nobody in this country that should think that the government is working for you or for the benefit of your family. Because if you do, again, I've got a vaccine to sell you. I've got a bridge to Russia to sell you. You're a retard. You're an absolute retard. I'm probably going to get demonetized because of this statement, but it needs to be said. People need to hear it, and people need to understand that the establishment is not on your side. The government of the United States is not on your side. The government is not there to govern the people. The government is there to protect the establishment from the people. 100% true. Maybe not when this country first started, but that's what's happened. Last time we talked about politics, I blamed it on the boomers. It is 100% their fault because they're the ones who started this idea of lifelong politicians before the boomers started voting for people like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein. I hope she's burning in hell. There was no lifelong politician. You had about 4 to 8 years, and that was it. That was it. That was your term, and then you went back into being just a normal person like everybody else. But the boomers slept on everything because they had been handed over one of the greatest economies in the world, and they fucking pissed it away because, again, they're ignorant morons that just celebrated being happy for momentary satisfaction with no foresight into what was actually the world was actually going to become, the country was actually going to become. We went from, being the greatest economy in the world to a failing US dollar. And it was all the boomers' fault. Now, there's a lot of millennials out there that still believe that they need to vote for these same people over and over and over again because they've been brainwashed by mainstream media. They've been brainwashed by their parents. They've been influenced by their parents to just go with the flow. But it is not as big a number as it was in the boomer generation. So credit to the millennials, credit to the Gen Zers who are finally starting to actually look at things and how the way things are, and looking for outside opinions here on YouTube, over on Rumble, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and TikTok, and not falling for that same bullshit propaganda that the boomers fell into. But that's all I'm going to say on that. that was a little long, so we'll go right into it. Again, do yourself a favor. Check down on the merchandise description link below if you'd like to support the channel, and we're just gonna kind of keep rolling. We're gonna get into our gaming segment now, and in our gaming segment, we finally finished up Fallout 4. Well, we didn't finally fall. It was a few weeks ago now. We were able to finish up Fallout 4. We 100%ed it. We got every trophy. We got every DLC trophy as well. Although I really only consider 2. I know Automatron, I guess technically is a DLC, but it's so small that I consider it more of an add-on. Workshop Companion, I also consider an add-on. I really only consider Fallout 4 had 2 DLCs, Nuka World and Far Harbor. And as we were playing both, I know a lot of you people disagreed with me because I said originally that Nuka World was my favorite of the 2. And in this gaming segment, I kind of want to go over how my opinion might have changed a little bit doing this specifically. Like, I was looking for reasons to prove to you guys that Nuka World was the better DLC. And in the end, I think I ended up convincing myself that Far Harbor is probably better. But just to kind of compare, Far Harbor has a fantastic atmosphere. I love the being on this isolated island. You've got this fog that kind of covers everything, a la horror movie The Fog. So you can't really see what's coming up. There's all this radiation because of these locked away bombs that were on there. And then more importantly is this fantastic story about runaway synths, specifically Dima, who has been there and is running this island very much akin to how the Institute would want a synth to run this island. He's replaced one of the leaders from Far Harbor with a synth so he could control her. He wants to do the same thing with the leader of the Children of Adam so he can then bring peace to this island by being able to control what both of these major factions do. Lo and behold, it's got this great backstory with one of, if not the best companion, Nick Valentine, where you find out that Nick and Dima are brothers. They were made together. They were, Dima was like the first protocol droid, if you will, and then Nick was the first synthetic artificial human, where they planted these memories into him to have him kind of see what happens if you could actually integrate a robot into human society. And you find all this out through this incredibly heartwarming story between the 2 brothers, and then you've got Nick Valentine, who hates the fact that Dima is his brother at first, hates what he's been doing on this island, and then come to find out that it was really done based out of an attempt to bring peace, even though that's not how most of us would probably have done it. But it's a great story. It's a great atmosphere. It's got multiple settlements, which, again, I've said this many times. One of my favorite things about Fallout 4 is how they were able to implement the settlement building. And so the fact that you have multiple settlements in Far Harbor, and you're able to connect lines back to the Commonwealth and everything, so they're not separate, it is absolutely fantastic how they pulled it out. The one thing that I will say that I just don't like about Far Harbor is when it kind of slows down at the end when you're doing that kind of building simulator, going through Dima's memories. Like it's slow. At first it was kind of cool because it's like, oh, here's this little puzzle we got to do to decode these memories. But the fact that you have to do it so many times is really what drags it down, and it just gets longer and longer each time you have to do it. If you had to do it maybe once or twice, wouldn't be as bad, but it really slows the pace of the game down, and kind of, I was getting bored with it. in the middle. It got to the point where it was like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to get through this so I can be done. And that's, that's bad game design. Like you shouldn't ever be playing a video game where you're like, man, I just want to get past this so I can move on. That's not an ideal way to create your game. And so that was really, I mean, in the end, when I'm thinking about it, that was really the only downfall to Far Harbor, was that little moment. And even though it does bring down my overall grade of Far Harbor, it's not a big enough part of it to really persuade me to say that it's a bad DLC. There's just so much more greatness to it than that momentary lapse of game design to really say that it's a bad DLC. And in contrast to Nuka World, like Nuka World is a very different DLC. Like it's not. It's got a great environment, doesn't have a very good atmosphere. Like and what I mean by that is like the atmosphere of Far Harbor. Again, you have the mist, you have the fog, you have these warring factions, you have this story behind the story, multiple ways to. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm saying multiple ways. You can team up with Dima. You can convince Dima to tell the truth about what he did with Far Harbor. You have the option to team up with the Children of Adam and just destroy everything. Like there's multiple ending options in Far Harbor, whereas Nuka World, it's a great environment because it's a fun place to be in. You have all these, you have these different fun areas to explore, like the, you have like the jungle area. You've got the space area. You've got the bottling factory. Is kind of a cool place. So you have these little, you have the museum that has the mystery behind it with the daughter going crazy and what happened to the family and everything. So there's these areas that are fun to be in and search around and learn the history of, but it's not like a coherent environment, right? These are different places that just happen to be in the same area. So they're cool areas, not necessarily a great environment, like Far Harbor has. But again, I really like going through the different areas, and at the end, I mean that XO1 armor is fucking badass, right? It's got the the special quantum legendary attachment to it, modification, whatever you want to call. The armor's badass after you get done. But that's really, come to think of it and going through all this, that's really all it has going for it. There's no real story. Again, it's just you come to this place, these raiders have, taken over a small spot on it, and they want to expand their influence. And so you just go to these different areas and wipe out a bunch of, enemies and stuff. And then you decide which raider faction gets which area. And so there's no real story to it. It just is what it is. It's just, hey, go here, kill a bunch of people, and then decide who gets to control that area. And then you do the same for 5 different locations. And so there's no real story. If you want, you can basically beat the DLC almost immediately. You have to go through that first introduction where you go through the the fun house when you first get in there. But as soon as you get into Nuka World, there's one of the slave traders, mentions, hey, you could just kill everybody and free us. And you can do that right away. You can do that right away. You can just go around and kill all the faction leaders, and ipso facto, DLC's done. And that's really your only 2 choices, right? Side with the raiders, don't side with the raiders. So you don't have the multiple endings like you do with Far Harbor. There's only one new settlement, that's that Red Rocket, and you don't even get it right away. You have to basically finish the DLC. You have to turn the power on in Nuka World before you can even use it. And as far as I've tried, it doesn't look like you can send like a supply line to it. So everything, everything that you have there has to come from Nuka World. It does give you, the bottling options and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. There's some new raider gear that you can use in your settlements. But depending on when you decide to do the DLC, uh, you basically do all this progress getting all these settlements set up in the Commonwealth, and then part of the DLC is to then make those settlements into raider settlements. So everything everything you did putting these settlements together in the Commonwealth, now you have to basically just destroy all of it so you can give it to a raider faction. And so like it's if I would have done it earlier, or if I wouldn't have spent so much time setting up Minutemen settlements, maybe it wouldn't have been as big a deal. But like, I mean, every settlement that I could send a raider to, I had already built a settlement out of. So it's like, why do I now basically want to kick these people out when I spent all this time, putting these together so they come to this place, and now I just destroy everything that I just did. I mean, I guess technically, really, all you're doing is just replacing, civilians with raiders. But at the same time, like I didn't like doing that. Like I didn't like kicking those people that I had finally given a place to live out of their home, so I could have some raiders come out. I spent all this time, trying to get raiders out of the Commonwealth, and now here I am bringing them back in. Um, so in the end, I had to come to the conclusion that even though I probably had more fun playing playing Nuka World again, just because it's not as like it's not as like an intense, I guess, is the best word to describe it, because it's you're just playing, you're just exploring an area, and grabbing loot, like the previous Fallout games. So it was, it seemed less, it seemed more rewarding, but at the same time less strenuous, but you're right. I have to give it to you, specifically Ghost Dave, who's called me out on it multiple times. I have to, after doing this kind of compare and contrast, I have to conclude that that Far Harbor is the better DLC than Nuka World. And it pains me to say that, because that's not what I had thought since the DLC came out. But like I got to call a spade, and Far Harbor is just the better DLC. And so credit to Ghost Dave for inadvertently convincing me to do this side by side. And not to toot my own horn, but credit to myself for being able to be flexible and not looking at it from a biased angle and saying, hey, I was wrong. I thought I liked Nuka World better, but the truth is Far Harbor is better than Nuka World. And so there it is. I'm finally set to conclude that the Far Harbor DLC is the best DLC for Fallout 4. And you guys were right, and I was wrong. All right, let me see. Oh, no, all the coffee's gone. All the coffee's gone. For my second commercial, I'm going to take a swig of water. I could use a Smart Water. I could use a Smart Water sponsorship. That'd be cool. Hopefully this green screen's going to work. But I got an email from a company called Nectar Life about becoming a brand ambassador for them. And, I wouldn't normally think of it, but I do generally like their stuff. I buy soap from them, soap and lotion and stuff, and it is generally the best stuff I've ever used. Like you don't have to use very much of it, and it just gets everywhere. Like it's fantastic soap, and it's actually done wonders for my skin, done wonders for my wife's skin. The lotion is fantastic. Again, just a little bit basically covers the whole area, and It's funny because, everybody's, "Oh, Mr. Sasquatch, get the guy stuff." Nah, fuck that shit, man. I've been a firm believer that if you want good natural looking skin, get the women's stuff. Get the ladies stuff. Because that's, they have to look better than men in society because of the way the patriarchy works. But um, so I'll have to look into Nectar, and if you guys want to, if I really do become a brand ambassador, I hope that leads to some free goodies. But major shout out to Nectar Life. If you guys happen to live in the Vegas area, it's at Resorts World. There's a store there. You can buy a bunch of stuff, and the more you buy, the better deal you get. So, um, if you happen to be in the Vegas area, I know you can. I think you can get it online from them, and I know there's a couple of places. Like I'm sure there's one in LA. There's probably one in New York. But I generally enjoy their products a lot. All right. Now we're going to get into our sports segment. I was curious what to say here because there's kind of a lot going on. There's the Olympics. There's some stuff to talk about in the Olympics, but I think, the low viewership for the Olympics has pretty much told the story that ever since that opening ceremony, uh, I think people are finally fed up with the garbage they put on TV. But shout out again to the U.S. Right now we're tied with China for the most golds, but we're about 50 total medals higher than China, who's got the second most. So as always, go USA. I wish the athletes the best of luck, even though I'm not generally that interested in watching it anymore because of the nonsense. Maybe, you know what? Actually, now that I think of it, I think it was the Olympics that I saw the 5 Kamala commercials and 0 Donald Trump commercials. So I believe it's on NBC. Again, total election interference. And but that's go USA. That's all I really wanted to say about that. More importantly, fantasy football is finally getting back around with the football season gearing up to start. Another thing that I was thinking about talking about is, the NFL just announced that they're going to do surveillance on everybody in the stadium to make sure, you are who you say you are. And so I'm probably never going to go to another football game again, which is kind of a bummer because, I've said for at least 15 years now that if the Lions ever make a Super Bowl, I'm going to that Super Bowl. But now I don't want to because of this facial recognition thing. And, they say it's to prevent crime and violence and whatnot. And it's going to be better security. It's going to get you into the stadium faster and all this stuff. I don't care. I don't care. I would rather, take another 15 to 20 minutes to get to my seat knowing that I'm not being spied on at every moment of every day. Because anybody who believes that they're not going to use this facial recognition in other areas is a fucking moron. And I was talking about this earlier. We are a fascist, surveillance, authoritarian, warmongering country, and we will look for any reason to identify people that don't go along with the groupthink and harm them in every way possible. It's just the country that we live in now. We don't live in a free country. We live in a surveillance society. And anybody that thinks that this is just a convenience for you to get to your seat faster is a fucking moron. They're going to sell that information. They're going to find out who you are. They're going to track you with it. And then if they find out that you're somebody that doesn't go along with the mainstream groupthink, they're going to use it against you in some way, shape, or form. 100%. 100%. Because that's what the deep state does. That's what the intelligence community does. They target these people that are either A, mentally incapacitated in some form, or outright rebellious people, and they use their power to the full extreme to make you look like a bad person and punish you through this idea of social credit score. This idea that like Dr. Disrespect. It has come out that he was texting this alleged 17-year-old, and immediately, with no proof, with no with no guilty verdict. Remember, he sued Twitch and won. He sued and he won, but everybody still wanted to ruin his career. His Twitch days were immediately over because of it. Turns out the 17-year-old girl didn't exist to begin with. It was made up by some Twitch employees who just didn't like Dr. Disrespect. And that's exactly what this surveillance is going to do in the football stadiums. They're going to use this surveillance to try and find some young kid who's got a Kansas City face paint on, and they're going to show one half of his face and say that the Kansas City Chiefs are racist because they allow kids to do blackface. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do, because they are dead set on sowing division and hatred amongst our society to make sure that we keep fighting with each other and they run off with the treasury. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked in my lifetime. That's how it's going to continue to work until we decide to stop voting for these fucking dipshit assholes that put these people in power. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about fantasy football because I like fantasy football. And for the last couple of years, I've finally done, for the first time ever, a Dynasty League. I'm in another Dynasty League that I start this year. We just had our draft, and for the most part, I'm actually very, very happy with it. So just to kind of differentiate between the two Dynasty Leagues. In the first one, I didn't really understand what a Dynasty League was, right? These are members of a football team that you draft, but then you keep until you decide to get rid of them. There is no redraft the next year. And that's one of the things that I actually prefer Dynasty over redraft leagues for. You have a commitment to these players. You have some innate attachment to your team. Because this is your team until you get rid of said team. It's not like it's just my team for 17 weeks and then next year there's a whole different team. This is your team. And I didn't really understand that in my first Dynasty League. So I drafted best player available, hoping to win my money back right away. And so I don't think I drafted very well, though I do generally like my core team. I've got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I've got David Montgomery and Kenneth Walker III at running back. I've got Cooper Kupp at wide receiver. But the rest of the team, I don't really have any attachment to. I've got Christian Kirk. I've got DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins used to be one of my favorite players. Now I could kind of care less. I just hope he does well. Because he's on my fantasy team. James Conner, kind of the same thing. And so I've got a lot of old old guys because I was looking for good players right off the bat. But like with a Dynasty League, you don't want to just think about this year because you've got next year and the year after that. You're looking to, in my opinion, build a core that you can then build around. And I don't think I did a very good job with it. With that mentality in my first league, whereas I was going for best player available so I could try and win, and after an almost perfect regular season and a number one seed in a first round bye, I end up getting crushed in my first playoff game that season, and I end up taking I think I ended up taking fourth because I don't know if they have like a third, fourth place game. I think it's only first place. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and check. But I ended up not winning that league, and now I've got a bunch of old guys that I just gotta hope kind of stick around for a little while as I build through the draft and through free agency, trying to get younger players that are actually going to make an impact. I basically traded away my immediate future to get all these great players on a team that ended up not winning. and so now I'm kind of back in the rhythm of things. I've got multiple draft picks next year and the year after now. So I can start to build around this core. The beautiful thing is, Patrick Mahomes will be around for 4 or 5 years. David Montgomery's got 3 years left on his 4-year contract. Kenneth Walker III is still on his rookie contract. There's a very good chance that, well, I mean, it's almost a guarantee that either the Seattle Seahawks are going to extend him, or he's going to get picked up by another team. Cooper Kupp's kind of on his way out the door. Well, I mean, maybe he gets another 2 or 3 year deal, but he's still a pretty productive player. DeAndre Hopkins probably done after this contract is over. James Conner probably done after this contract is over. Evan Ingram is my tight end. He's kind of, he's getting to the end of his career. And so, I've got these aging players that I kind of have to hope just stick around and still be productive until until I can replace them with some young guns. Whereas in my the Dynasty League that we just drafted, I did it much differently. I picked the players that I wanted, and while I didn't get all the players that I wanted, I got a vast majority of them. So I'm a Lions fan, so I wanted the core of my team to be Lions players, and I'll just take the L on on the bye week. Like I can lose one game and be fine. But I was able to get in the first Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs in the second. I was hoping to get Sam Laporta in the third, but he went high. He basically went like 2 or 3 picks after Jahmyr Gibbs. So I should have probably tried to give up some future draft capital to move up and pick him, but that's okay. I got David Montgomery later, and Hendon Hooker is on my taxi squad because at some point he's supposed to be the heir apparent to Jared Goff. So I've got my core players all on. We just signed Jared Goff to a 4-year extension. We just signed Amon-Ra St. Brown to a 4-year extension. Jahmyr Gibbs is only in his second season of what's probably going to be at least at worst a 4-year rookie contract with the option of a 5th. Most likely going to get extended after that. And then David Montgomery, again, he's still got 3 years on his 4-year contract. And so I've got multiple years to grab these guys. Or to get younger and better players around these guys. The best part about it is I did it differently this time. I looked for my core group of players, and then I traded for future capital. I've got in next year's draft, I've got 4 first-round draft picks, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths. So in a 12-team league, I'm going to get a third of those rookies that come in next year that are going to be right away starters, and so I'm going to be able to get younger really fast, and it's going to complement what is already a top 5 offense in the NFL. Some other picks that I have, I grabbed Tony Pollard, who could have a decent career at Tennessee. At tight end, speaking of Tennessee, I also have I grabbed DeAndre Hopkins because it was late in the draft and I needed a wide receiver. But I've got Matthew Stafford, I got Geno Smith at quarterback, so I've got these people that have a couple of years, so I can then draft these rookie guys and let them develop before I actually have to start playing them. I have Ngakoue, the tight end from Tennessee. So, week 5 is going to really suck because like my whole team is on bye. But I was able to get Nick Chubb. So, I know he's kind of getting up there in age and he's coming off another knee injury. But, if I can get a few weeks out of him as a backup player, and then he gets back into, being Nick Chubb, I was able to get him really late in the draft, and I can build around him with all this draft capital I have. But more importantly, all the entire next 4 years pending, career-ending injury, I'm going to get to play the people that I want, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I don't have to worry about losing those people unless I decide to get rid of them, and I really love that aspect of the dynasty leagues. You know, you pick who you want to play, and then you build around that team, and that, in my opinion, makes it a lot more fun than the redraft leagues, because the redraft is all about best player available. Who do you think is going to be the best player that you can pick for your team this season? You don't really have any attachment to the team. It's not necessarily people that your favorite players in the league. It's the people that you think are going to do well. So you're picking more on talent than you are on attachment. And I think watching your favorite players do really well in fantasy is makes fantasy better. Like I was able to win a bunch of leagues. I won 4 leagues last year, and most of them I had either Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, or Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown on my team, if not a combination of a combination of those guys. And being able to win with those on my team made it more exciting than just winning with a bunch of people that I don't really care about outside of fantasy football. And so, the other downfall to redraft leagues are, injuries can really ruin a season, right? Like if Patrick Mahomes goes down on my dynasty league, yeah, sure, it sucks for this year, but I'm not going to have to worry about, replacing him next year. He's going to come back and be Patrick Mahomes the following season. I'm not going to have to worry about drafting somebody that may or may not be as good, because he's already on my team, and he's not going to be off my team unless I get rid of him. Whereas like, if for example, I have the number 1 overall pick in one of my fantasy leagues, I'm probably most likely going to grab Christian McCaffrey. But if he goes down, and I've said this, in basically every fantasy league, I absolutely hate the first overall pick. Because if you pick somebody, he could be great, but if he goes down with injury, you now have to make up for the fact that every other team got to choose 2 people before you did, while you only got to choose the one. So, so it's tough, like when they go down, especially if you have like a high draft pick, because there's a lot of talent in between your first and second pick that's already gone. And so it's hard to make up for that loss of talent. There's no real trades in a redraft league, because everybody's worried that they're going to give up more than the other guy. And now free agency can be beneficial, because sometimes you do find gems like Puka Nacua in free agency. But for the most part, that's just your team for the year. Whatever, most likely whoever you drafted outside of a few players, whoever you drafted is probably going to be your team for the rest of the year. And so again, you're just back to hoping that they play well, solely for the fantasy football aspect of it, not because you're a 49ers fan or you're a Miami Dolphins fan or whatever. In my case, a Lions fan. Again, it's much more exhilarating to me to know that I have this core of players from my favorite team, and they're on my team until I get rid of them, or until they retire, whichever comes first. I just really like dynasty leagues, and I'm hoping, I'm supposed to be in this third one, but I haven't heard whispers, ifs, ands, or buts from it in about 2 months. We're still missing a player. It's $150 buy-in, so it's kind of expensive, so it's hard to convince people to take that last spot. But I really, really dig dynasty leagues a lot, and it's fun. You actually get to be a general manager in aspects, because again, you're looking for a core group of players, and then you're hoping to get the next great player, or you're looking to build in the futuristic drafts around that core to sustain success. Not just win that year, but win year after year after year. And it's very exciting. I'm super excited for this new dynasty team that I'm in. I'm excited for every league. You know, again, I was in 10 leagues last year. I made it to the finals in 5. I won 4 of those 5. And so it's going to be very hard to beat last year. It was easily my best year ever in fantasy football. And so it'll be fun to see if I can replicate any kind of that type of success. And we'll see. But I want to encourage more people to look into dynasty leagues, because again, and then what I forgot to mention is that not only is it like you get to be a general manager and you get to build this team that sustains success year after year, but you also build like a little camaraderie with the people in the league. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that have been doing these redraft leagues with the same people, at least majority same people. But the truth is, like, most people in redraft leagues, most leagues that I've been in redraft leagues, there's at least a good third of the league is turnover. Is new players or people who've never played fantasy before, replacing people that didn't do well last year. So in rebellion, they're not playing this year. And I mean, I've even had that in leagues where we were like very dead set. Hey, if we're going to do this, we want to, continue this, and that's why we're going to do keeper players and everything. And but in my opinion, I think you're more invested in a dynasty league, so you're more likely to stay those same 10, 12 people in the league. And I like that aspect about it, because it's more realistic, in my opinion. It's more immersive because you're really competing against the same people, and it puts you on a level playing field, and it's just a lot of fun. So I encourage more people to look into dynasty leagues. I prefer them over redraft leagues. I think you should too. It's gonna be a little bit long one for a welcome back, but that's okay. That's okay. Last commercial break before we get out of here, or before we get into our cinema segment. Field of Greens. If you're looking to, if you're like me, you don't eat a whole lot of vegetables. I love fruits. Hate vegetables. But you're not getting enough in your daily diet, fruits and vegetables. Do yourself a favor. Look up Field of Greens, and get some of their superfood mix. I drink it twice a day, every day, and it has absolutely been a life changer for me. I feel better, more consistent dietary function. My digestive system works a lot better, and because of that, it's allowed the rest of my body to function more as well. I breathe better. I generally feel better throughout the day. I feel more active. It's truly been an incredible, like, life-changing, just easy mixed drink that you wouldn't think that it would be all that special, but it's I gave it a try because I got I think it was 15% off like a trial run, and I don't ever see myself stopping it. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I feel a lot better since I've started drinking it. I can actually tell you that I've started feeling better since I've started drinking it, because there's been a couple of times in the 6 months that I've done it that I've stopped doing it, and I just don't feel right anymore. When I don't get those fruits and veggies, those daily allotment of fruits and veggies. So it's it's something that I've done for at least 6 months, maybe longer, maybe 7, 8 months now. And I highly encourage you guys to check it out. Fieldofgreens.com. All right, a little sippy of the water, and then we'll finish this up. All right, moving on to our final segment of the day. It's the cinema segment. This is where we talk about movies and TV that I either like or I hate. And this one was pretty much a no-brainer. We had a huge movie come out over last weekend, and I actually did get to see it on opening weekend, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine. So this will be my review for that. I haven't been to a movie, haven't gone to a movie theater in at least a couple of years. You know, it was before my son was born, and he's going to be 2 in about 8 days. And so it's been at least 2 years since I've seen a movie, and I don't generally, the truth is I don't generally want to go see movies in the theater, because it's expensive, it's a hassle sometimes, depending on, you know, if it's a crowded movie theater or not. Luckily, ours was not. You know, we waited kind of towards the end of the weekend. My brother, my wife, and I went and saw it at midnight, on a Monday. So it you know, the theater wasn't packed at all. There was a decent crowd for being a midnight movie on a Monday, but it not like it would have been on, you know, on a Friday, Saturday night. But you know, I generally avoid that kind of stuff because again, I just don't like it. You know, there's not a movie worth going and putting yourself through that hassle and expense. Uh, has a movie like that hasn't come out in years now. Oppenheimer, I probably could have seen myself going to see that, but we ended up waiting a year until that came out on streaming services, or a little less than a year, something like that. But we went and saw, my wife, my brother, and I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm really glad I did, because overall I thought it was a very, very good film. It was funny, it was witty, it was heartfelt, had some great action scenes. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds make an incredible on-screen duo. You've got Reynolds, who's the playful and goofy character. You've got Hugh Jackman, who's the, serious and heartfelt character, but can play off each other, a la, the new age, the modern age, grumpy old men, or and they just make a really good on-screen ensemble. Uh, it was a good idea for the movie. I almost said it was a great idea. It was really a good idea for a movie, because again, the action scenes were fantastic. I don't think I don't think I need to explain that a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie should have great action scenes in it. The opening credits, where you've got Deadpool just destroying this army of TVA soldiers while dancing, doing the bye 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 dance sequence, is phenomenal, and it really sets up the tone of the movie as, hey, we're gonna be a fun action filled adventure, but we're also going to let you know that we're going to be a fun action adventure. And so the way Deadpool breaks that fourth wall, it is, sometimes it can be overdone, and it can be silly, and it can be distracting, but the way he's been able to do it, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in these 3 movies, is absolutely incredible, because it makes you want him to talk to you. It's like Wayne's World, when Wayne and Garth talk to break the fourth wall and talk to the audience. Like they do it in a way that's funny and tells the story at the same time, without overtly becoming annoying or irritating, because they keep breaking the fourth wall, and it's just like, just show the movie. And so Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool specifically has always done that. And but it's this great idea for a movie, for the vast majority of it. That they introduce this idea of the void, where these dead characters have gone, basically characters that were in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that just kind of disappeared, right? It allowed them to have super insane cameos, like Chris Evans. You've got Deadpool seeing Chris Evans, and he's expecting Captain America, but it turns out it's the Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. because that was a franchise that just went nowhere. Channing Tatum is comes in as Gambit. Little known story, he actually had a Gambit solo movie lined up to star as the character in 2014, and for whatever reason, Disney ends up, or sorry, Marvel just ends up shelving it. And so it's him talking about how he's got this, he's finally gets his opportunity to be this character and show what he can do. And then you also have Wesley Snipes as Blade, and that's a great cameo because they're coming out with the new Blade that doesn't generally look all that good to me, but it's a tribute to Blade, Wesley Snipes specifically as Blade. Because without Blade, there is no Marvel Cinematic Universe. He set the market. He allowed people to watch these movies, whether you were a comic book fan or not. Because Blade is not a very, very common, very popular comic book character. Not like the X-Men or Spider-Man or anything like that. And so you have I think it was Fox. Was it Fox? Maybe it was Sony. Comes out with this cool ass movie starring Blade. No one knows that it's a comic book story, but it opens up the idea to the greater audience that comic book heroes can be viable stories. And then all of a sudden you have this explosion. You have X-Men. You have Spider-Man comes out. The Sam Raimi Spider-Mans come out, and then all of a sudden you have these Avengers and Iron Man and Thor and this whole cinematic universe, and it owes its life to Blade. And so to see Wesley Snipes as Blade, when it didn't look like it was ever going to happen again, was really, really fun in my opinion. They also had they had a bunch of others. Jennifer Garner as Elektra. I didn't think that was necessary. I would have rather had there's rumors. I guess there's I guess they were in talks with Nicolas Cage to bring back Ghost Rider. I would have much rather had him as Ghost Rider in the movie than Jennifer Garner as Elektra. And that's nothing against Jennifer Garner. That's everything against, I don't think Elektra is a very fascinating character. Like I didn't bother to see the movie because she's just some side character to a movie, to the Daredevil character that really only got a movie because she was a famous actress, and they were trying to, kind of piggyback off her fame as, I think Jessica Alba was Dark Angel, but Jennifer Garner was in some sort Alias. That's the one that she was in, and so they were just trying to piggyback off that. But like Elektra is not like a character that's interesting, she just happens to be a woman action figure. And so, they were trying to make a quick buck out of it. So I would have rather had, Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider than Elektra. But, hey, congratulations to Carmen, or not Carmen, to Jennifer Garner for getting in the movie. I should have started with a with a little spoiler warning. But the truth is, by now, I'm sure everybody's seen it because for whatever reason, there was no, hey, let's not spoil this movie for people for at least a week or two. It was just like the movie came out, and 10 minutes after the movie came out, boom, every little thing about that movie was on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. And it wasn't just, people talking about it. It was major companies like IGN and Polygon, Nerdist, Rotten Tomatoes and everything like that. Like it was like an immediate, let's spoil this movie for everybody. and so I don't really feel that bad for not giving you a spoiler warning at the beginning. But it was just a good movie. It wasn't a great movie because my brother said it best. It seems like they had a great idea to start the movie, and then they just didn't know where they wanted to go. The truth is, the story is not that great. Really the part of the movie that makes it good is Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds working together. Hugh Jackman reprising his role as Wolverine. The cameos, the action sequences, and the moments between these characters that kind of got lost in the shuffle, right? And so you have a different version of Wolverine where he's lost all the X-Men, right? Days of Future Past came through and just wiped out all the X-Men, and he was out he was out on his own drinking at a bar because Scott Summers told him to put on this suit. And so it's the moments between the characters realizing who they are, what they could have been, what they are, that really push the heart of the movie. The cameos that are like, oh man, this could have been awesome type of stuff. It's not really the story itself. The story is kind of non-existent. You have this TVA employee that wants to wipe out Deadpool's timeline, but it's not because of Deadpool. It's just because he wants to end the timeline early for whatever reason. You find out this timeline is actually ending because the Wolverine in his timeline, Deadpool's timeline, is dead, and so now everybody, I guess, is losing interest in it or something, and so that's why the timeline is slowly decaying and dying. They bring in this idea of an anchor being. I don't really care for that idea of an anchor being. I understand what they were trying to do, right? You have to admit that there are certain characters that are more popular than other characters. I was talking about Elektra. She's not really a popular character. Blade, not really a popular comic book character. Gambit, same kind of idea, right? They're not super popular standalone characters. But I don't necessarily like this idea that there has to be this one person that's so insanely popular that that's the only reason that your timeline is still around. Because there are there's niche people out there, like there just because Blade isn't super popular. I mean, he's beloved by the people that do like Blade, right? The fans of Gambit don't necessarily love everything else or everybody else that they believe is popular. Venom comes to mind. I like Venom as a character, but in my opinion, like he's not the heart and soul of Spider-Man that everybody wants to make him out to be. He's not Spider-Man's arch nemesis. The beauty of Spider-Man is he has a relationship with these counterpoints of his arch nemesis, the Sinister Six. He's got a friendship with Norman Osborn, who turns out to be the Green Goblin. He's got a relationship with Dr. Otto Octavius, who becomes Doc Ock. And so the Sinister Six is still the base and the heart and the systemic soul of the Spider-Man comics. But everybody wants to put Venom in every single Spider-Man movie because he just happens to be the most popular villain, because people don't know shit about anything. People just, oh my god, he's a fucking badass symbiote. You can do all this crazy shit. Oh, okay, looks so cool. They don't actually understand story or character arc or or attachment or anything to that effect. They just see something cool and their brain go, that's so awesome. And so like I don't like this idea of there having to be that one character to keep a timeline alive. Now, if it's a secret underground plot to eliminate all timelines and finally just make one timeline for the MCU, I can see why they did that. But in my opinion, I didn't really care for that idea. And then in the end, they just blow up the machine that's gonna destroy this timeline. They just blow it up, like and apparently that saves everything. Even though the Wolverine from Deadpool's timeline is still dead. so I guess his timeline is back to just slowly dying out instead of immediately being destroyed or something. I don't know. It just again, like my brother said, it sounds like they had a good foundation for a story and just didn't know how to execute it. That's kind of what it feels like. So that was really my only qualm with the movie. But again, I don't go to a Deadpool movie expecting a great story. I go to a Deadpool movie expecting a great performance from Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, and in this case, not just a great performance by Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but a great performance as Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and they delivered in spades. Like it was, I mean, you you wouldn't believe that Hugh Jackman hasn't played Wolverine in a decade. Like it's inconceivable how just seamlessly he went right back into playing Logan. Even I'm not sure it's been exactly 10 years, but it's been it's been a good chunk of time since he's played this character, and it's like he never stopped playing it. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal by Hugh Jackman's part, and I know they're not going to nominate him for a Best Actor a role because it's a superhero film, but he 100% deserves it. Like he was absolutely phenomenal as Wolverine, Logan, whatever you want to call him. Like he just jumped right back into that role, and I mean he clearly he was born for it. I mean he looks like him. And he embodies the character Wolverine. You can tell he really enjoys playing that character, and for him to take so much time off, come back in and do such a good job re-embodying that character was truly fun to watch. Truly fun to watch. And I mean, everybody seems to enjoy it because it was insanely popular, insanely successful at the box office. Almost $700 billion domestically already. I'm sure it's over $1 billion now worldwide. Although I don't know, I don't have the worldwide figures, but it's the most popular R-rated movie of all time now, surpassed the Passion of the Christ, which held that title for 20 years. And we're talking the Passion of the Christ versus Deadpool and Wolverine, right? The Passion of the Christ is going to get moviegoers regardless. You're going to get those people that absolutely hate the fact that they're making this movie because they want to see how blasphemous it is. Then you're going to get those people that have to see this movie because they're Catholics and it's everything that they want, in a told story. And then you're going to get those people that are, oh, it looks good. Oh, I hear it's great. Blah blah blah. Or I hear it's so bad I got to see it. That kind of thing. And so for it to pass the Passion of the Christ as the the biggest money making R-rated movie of all time is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary, and just a credit to the movie itself, and the fact that it doesn't try to fit this new global new world order narrative. Like it just proves that if you give people something that they want, they will buy it. And I don't know whether it was Ryan Reynolds' influence or if it was, Marvel realizing that their fucking recent ass of fucking bullshit, garbage, narrative pushing trash has just plummeted their stock value. And they finally said, fuck it. It's going to be R-rated anyway. Let's just let them do whatever they want. This proves that all this fucking bullshit narrative, diversity, equity, inclusivity bullshit that Disney and the global new world order has been pushing for at least 4 or 5 years now is complete bullshit, because people want certain things, and if you give them what they want, they will go out and they will purchase that item. And this just proves it. It's absolutely anti-narrative because the critics absolutely hate this movie. I've seen multiple articles from IGN alone. I mean, there's also been some from Polygon and Nerdist, but specifically IGN, that are just like, oh yeah, it's doing very successful, but the movie's absolutely ass because of this, and this, and the reasons is because it doesn't have enough diversity. It doesn't have, the gay jokes are pushing it too much, or this character doesn't represent this small minority of people. They don't have a transgender in there. All stupid DEI bullshit reasons is why IGN hates this movie. And so for it to be a success is, again, just proof that people want a specific thing. They expect a specific thing from certain things. And if you give it to them, they will buy that candy bar. If you don't give it to them, They're going to stay at home and they're going to watch, The Wire for the 5th time, or The Sopranos for the 10th time in a row. Like, people want what they want. They don't want to be told what they want. And that's what Disney and the global new world order want more than anything. They want to tell you what you want and what you like and what you deserve. They don't want to give you something they think that that you want. They want to tell you what you want. And it's all part of it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the new world order. It's all part of the the establishment elite that actually run things in this world. And the fact that Disney was willing to put this movie out. I'm guessing specifically because their stock is absolute ass now compared to what it was just a few years ago. But I also think it's because it was an R-rated movie. But credit to Disney for allowing them to put this movie out there, and credit to the filmmakers for actually creating something that people want. And that's why it's as successful as it is. That's why 100%. That's why they stopped. They didn't go into it looking to make you woke or broaden your horizons or whatever their fucking bullshit terms are. They went in, they made a movie that people wanted. People went out and repaid them by seeing it. Plain and simple. Weird how that works. But overall, I highly recommend it. If you, I'm always saying this. There's very few things that I say go out and pay full price for. But I would be willing to go out and pay full price for this movie, and I recommend it. Obviously, if you can, get if there's like a $5 movie night or whatever, do that. But this would be something that I would recommend even at full price. This was a very fun movie. It was a great welcome back to the theater, which I haven't been to in years, and it gives me a little bit of hope for the future of cinema, because for a long time it's looked very, very dark, and it was good. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Am I right about Dynasty leagues over redraft leagues and fantasy football? Am I right about Far Harbor being better than Nuka World? Am I right to be excited about the future of cinema? Having seen Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, let me know what you thought about that first segment. I know I didn't give you the normal politics warning. We don't talk about it that much, but that was something that there was a couple events that happened while in between podcasts that I had to talk about, and let me know what you guys think. Again, also comment if there's something that you want me to talk about. Nico, dude, I know you had asked, for me to put a list together of the top 15 movies that I recommend everybody see. The reason I've kind of been hesitant on that is because I was doing a little bit of research. My first episode, episode number 1, actually has my top 5 movies that I think people should see and why. And so I'm gonna, we'll do it at some point. Maybe instead of the top 15, what I think people should see, maybe my top 15 favorite movies of all time, or maybe top 15 most influential movies of all time. Maybe something a little different. But we will get to it. If there is anything else that you guys want me to talk about, do me that favor. Drop your comment down below. If you made it this far, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell so you know when I do go live, drop a new video, put out a new podcast. If you're catching this over on Spotify, do me a favor, hit that follow on Spotify. Every follower helps. And again, just to remind you, last time, if you want to help support the channel, you can do so now by buying merchandise. Link to the spring.com link down below. Fantastic. Again, multiple choices now. We've got the old classic iconic tee. We've got the new title tee with BigSweetC and the Super Nintendo controller, and then we've got another Gamer Dad podcast stuff where my son and I are looking adorable. But we've got a bunch of stuff you can buy now: mugs, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all that good stuff. And then again, Be on the lookout. Wednesdays, we're playing Grounded with my wife and Scavenger. Thursdays, we're playing Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. Fridays are Fallout 76 with Ghost Dave and whoever else wants to join us. And Saturdays are Elden Ring with our friend Nico Dude and whoever else would like to join us for that. I've been trying to get my brother on that, but we'll see. But either way, last time, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let your friends know. You can also follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Links to all that stuff down in the description box below. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube or Spotify, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. Long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness. Signing off. Peace.